October 21st, 1966. A deposit of coal mine waste crashes into the village of Aberfan, Wales, killing 116 school children, which are some weak-ass numbers for kids killed by coal. Knock, knock, knock. Who's that? At the door, it's a skeleton. Welcome to the Revisionists. I'm Brian Flynn. It's Halloween.
I'm the aforementioned skeleton. Zach Powers, boogity boo.
It's a very low-key skeleton. I'm very, very pleased with.
I don't know. What are you gonna do when you're a skeleton? You've been dead. What are you gonna? You gonna be high energy as a skeleton? You are getting into protein.
You've been dead for so long. You're sleepy all the time. Wait.
You drinking a Red Bull? What's that gonna do? It's gonna fall out of your ribcage. Like,
yeah. Barely holding yourself together.
Yeah. We overestimate skeletons as enemies. They're very frail and weak.
Yeah, not even cartilage, I don't think anymore. Like, how are they held together? What's going on?
Yeah, the more I think about skeletons as animated objects, the more I see flaws in the theory, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think they're real. Like even inside of us, I think it's all a lie.
You've gone a step beyond me, actually.
I was going to say that is taking the theory to the flat Earth extreme.
Yeah. I was mostly worried about them as supernatural entities, but yeah, I guess you have some compelling arguments about how maybe they just don't exist.
Look, we've never actually seen our own skeletons.
We know that God placed dinosaur skeletons as false evidence, so maybe the skeletons inside of us are
also false.
Yeah, God testing us.
Oh, I thought it was the devil who planted the dinosaur skeletons to test us, and not God.
Are they
just having
different?
A laugh.
They're kind of the same.
Yeah,
like,
the same.
Oh wow, we are answering the deep questions. Are God and the devil the same?
You read the book of Job, and it's like we're kind of both on the action.
Oh, by the way, the other voice you hear is Allison Rose from the grave.
Yep, risen. Hello.
Hello. In like a Halloween way, not in a Jesus way.
And I'm Zach Powers of the Necromancer or something.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
A spooky name? Yeah,
I can't remember. No, you said you were the skeleton.
Oh, I did say I was a skeleton. My actual name is Zach Powers. Skeletons have names. They're individuals.
Once upon a time.
Yeah,
Supposedly.
I mean, would your skeleton still be using your government name, though? Like, I
would hope not. If I were a skeleton, I would...
This is a Ship of Theseus question.
Oh, yeah, if I were a skeleton, I'd use it as a chance to really change some things about my life, I think. For the better, probably.
Yeah, and, you could really redo your whole look. It's just a blank slate, so...
I'd be at my goal weight, which is dead. So
yeah, I mean, negligently thin.
Yeah, this is. Look, I don't know where I'm going with this. Hey, listeners, it's our. You may have guessed this from our discussion of theology and skeletons, but this is our Halloween Spooktacular right now. That's right. Spooky.
Yeah, we've so far scared you so much.
You are so fucking scared.
We've scared them away. It's fine.
I have a hoarse voice from a recent sickness, and I'm sure that's very scary. My minor monotone sort of hoarseness.
Speaking of horses, we're going to be talking about Thomas Weir this episode.
Oh God!
Trying to sound like the Scream guy the whole time.
The Scream guy.
The Scream guy. Everybody knows what I mean when I say the Scream guy. It's the Scream guy.
Ghostface.
Oh yeah.
Right, or like Matthew Lillard specifically.
Spoiler we're going to sound like Matthew Lillard. Or Emma Roberts or whatever. Spoilers for Scream 4.
Nice.
Oh man. Oh wait, Zach, you're sort of running this. You're piloting this ship. Sorry.
Oh, I forgot. Sorry, I've got a lot going on right now, guys.
There you go.
I'm piloting this ship. Yeah, so we're doing Spooktacular Spooktober. And even though this is a harsh transition from our Mexican Revolution series, we're going to talk about some spooky shit that happened to real people and should scare you because it could happen to you. It happened once before. Why not? Those are the
In
rules.
theory,
of the
yes,
universe.
this could happen to you. as unlikely as it may be, this could happen to you.
If it happened to somebody before, it could happen to you. So watch your backs for whatever the story is. I didn't research it, so I don't know. This particular episode, we are talking about Thomas Weir, who presumably has a very spooky story. I like to keep my mind and ears virginal of the story before I go in on the episodes where I judge. So I don't know what Thomas Weir's story actually is. But I hope to be enlightened by my co-hosts here.
Hopefully.
I have been running around all day and slightly sick. Who is doing the real and who is doing the alternate?
I'm doing the real.
Okay.
I did choose the real partly because I was like, well, if I was going to do the fake, I was like, well, I wanted to write a spooky story, but this is spooky enough. This could be a movie without altering it, I think.
Yeah.
Hollywood, hello.
Writer's strike is over, baby.
Yeah.
Scary stories to tell in the dark. R.L. Stein, you got your stuff right here. Stephen King, I don't know, maybe not that spooky. I don't know. I'll
Dean
find
Koontz,
out.
Call us up. Sure.
Dean Koontz. All right.
Christopher Pike,
The Ghost of Anne Rice.
Edgar Allan Poe, etc. Anyway, I see no reason to prolong the inevitable. Allison, would you like to start with the real story?
Sounds good. Major Thomas Weir was born in 1599 in Lanarkshire. He was a descendant of a very powerful family, the Weir de Veris. I wrote that down just to try to pronounce it. His mother was thought to possess powers of clairvoyance, though she did not predict that we know of what would happen to Thomas. He lived a very pious life as a Covenanter, which is a particularly strict form of Presbyterianism. He was also an officer in the Scottish anti-royalist army, serving as a lieutenant during the Irish Rebellion, and later becoming a commander of the Edinburgh Town Guard. Very respected. He even carried out the execution of Montrose, a big-time traitor, and later martyr.
That's what they said when they were about to behead him. It's like,
Yeah.
Montrose, you've been accused of being a big-time traitor.
To both sides.
When they said execution by beheading, they had to prove it was big time. You got the gallows if you were small time. Big time, it's got to come off entirely.
Yep. So Thomas declared that himself. He was particularly pious all his life and became known as the Bowhead Saint. Bowhead referring to the street he lived on, Edinburgh's West Bow, that linked the two halves of Edinburgh perfectly. His street was known for being home to the most pious of citizens, if you might notice a trend. And from what I can tell, this was sort of like a wrong side of the track situation, with the top of the hill housing like all the castles and courts and cathedrals and the high culture, and the other half housing the bars and inns and darker sides of the city. So, Weir from his spot could keep tabs on both. He led the religious community, attending meetings and leading prayers. He was described as a very serious man of grim countenance, always dressed in black and always carrying his black twisted staff.
Yeah, which, at a certain point, of course, this guy's going to... There's going to be a fucking twist-a-rooney with this fucking guy, of course.
Yeah, Presbyterians, very grim, serious, dressed in black, but also spooky.
Yeah. Oh, he's got a gnarled black staff. I don't know how this could
and what's
break
that
bad.
on the top of it? It's a surprise. He lived in the house with his sister Jean, aka Grizzle or Grizel.
I've been going with Grizel, but Grizzle is also very funny to me
Grizzle's hilarious.
because
I
it's
think
very
that's-
Magic School Bus.
Yeah, or just like Gen X slang, Grizzle. I don't know. I don't know what the kids are saying. Kids are saying Grizzle.
And I should say, for the benefit of comments that we may not get, I assume Edinburgh. Is this taking place in Scotland, Edinburgh?
Yes, it's in Scotland.
Oh, okay. Yeah, generally double the city there is pronounced Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. Wow.
Yeah. I think we may have my accent may have alienated some of the Scottish listeners. If you're still here,
I only know that because of the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
no, totally.
Well, that makes sense.
But listeners, Scottish listeners, if you're still here, just a forewarning, my alternate history might have a Scottish accent or two. So be prepared for that act of cultural denigration.
I feel like I missed out. Okay. Him and his sister seemed like a perfect pair until during one of his prayer meetings after his retirement, he seemed to be stricken ill and started confessing all manner of horrific, twisted crimes, including an incestuous relationship with his sister Grizel and fornication with many beasts. Possibly a mare. At first, no one believed him.
Many, yeah.
They thought he had to be mad or sick because after 70 years of pious life, which I might add is a suspiciously long lifespan for that time period. Like,
I agree. You'd think after 40 or 50 years old, you'd be like, I don't think I'll fornicate with beasts.
yeah.
Like, I'm 35, and I feel like I'm past the phase where I'm like, maybe I'll fornicate with beasts.
Yeah,
I just don't think it's a real possibility for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I mean, you're settling down.
I think the peak horny phase of my life is actually over.
Grown out of the fornicating with mares period, or
I think it just seems like more hassle than it's worth.
Well, also, you live in like an urban environment, so it's a little. I mean, there's pigeons. I'm not comfortable with that. That line of jokery I was going down.
I'm not sure. I mean, regardless of your environs, I don't know how to some degree there's going to be some coercion with the beasts.
Yeah, no, it's bad. Do not fuck animals. I hope I don't have to say that, listeners.
Well, we have, and now they also have a warning for what will come if they do. So don't do it.
Anyway, let's talk about, what is this, Mr. Hands? Okay.
Okay. Leave the pigeons alone. All right. So after the confession, they brought him and his sister in for interrogation, where both Thomas and Grizel continued acting madly, confessing witchcraft, sorcery, and, as we discussed, other acts. Grizel, his formerly calmed, contained sister, was said to be transformed into Grizel the Necromancer, with the ability to spin yarn at an unnatural speed, yarn which would break the moment anyone tried to weave with it. So at first I thought, first I thought this was like telling stories really quickly, and then it's like, oh no, it's just making yarn useless.
Have you ever heard that thing about how like you can do something fast, cheap, or well, pick two? It's like, okay, she can do it super fast.
It's probably cheap.
It's probably cheap, but it's not done well.
Mm-mm.
And like, if you make a pact with the devil for like super fast yarn spinning powers, like I feel like losing
at the time, they did a lot with yarn,
I feel like though, like losing your soul is like less of an issue than I think like your bargaining ability. I think because that's clearly lacking.
Mm-hmm. Well, she got one more thing from the devil. It's a mark on her forehead in the shape of a horseshoe, which appeared when she frowned. So, wrinkles. But it was given to her by the devil.
This is a long tradition of people using totally natural body parts, especially on women, and like body features to be like, that's probably a witch.
She also said that much of what she and Thomas knew had been learned from their mother, you remember the clairvoyant one, who had been a witch. She even told a tale of how years before, a stranger in a fiery coach had taken Thomas to Dalkeith? Dalkeith? I don't want to alienate. Okay. And how during the trip, a man had given him supernatural intelligence of the Scots' defeat at Worcester? The same day. Worcester. You're right. The same day.
That might be the Massachusetts
Is it the
one.
place?
It is a
the
place
of
Or
the sauce?
The place
it's the place of the sauce, yeah. The devil did not tell them about the sauce, but
I feel like that place has extra syllables too. Is it like Worcestershire sauce or something?
Worcester sauce.
Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire.
That's the trick of the Scots. There's too many vowels in all their words.
I mean, they can't hold a candle to the Welsh. Let's be fair.
No, that's true.
We can't argue with that. She also went on about his walking stick, topped by a carved human head, which should have been a pretty big red flag. But they all just thought it was a cool, pious man stick.
Yeah, that's the stick of a God-fearing man. Not
Yeah.
like one of them, like, degenerate sticks you see out and about with what I guess like
Wood.
or like the hatchet man on top of it.
Yeah. Jurassic Park stick with the maple. I don't know. Oh, maple.
The mosquito trapped in amber.
Amber, that's the word. There we go.
I mean, that is also in some ways an ominous stick.
It is, yeah.
Like
Maybe you have a question mark on the top of your staff if you're the Riddler. The Riddler, that's what he does.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. Staffs are kind of ominous in general, but especially
like a
with heads.
Punisher skull if you're a cop.
This walking stick is what she said gave him his powers and claimed that had been given to him by the devil himself.
Again, devil with sort of lame ass gifts.
Yeah, wrinkles, yarn, a stick. Thank you. Thank you so much. Very useful.
Fucking step up your game, great adversary of man.
basically, Hot Topic is the devil of the day of today because they give you similar gifts.
That's true.
Man, if you like could teleport someone from like 17th century England or Scotland into a Hot Topic, they would fucking lose their minds.
They would burn it down immediately.
And also, you'd have to teleport them into a Hot Topic 15 years ago because they don't even know if they exist anymore.
There's like one in Indiana, I'm pretty sure.
There's still one in the Southwest Plaza Mall in Littleton, Colorado. Our sponsor tonight, the Hot Topic in Southwest Plaza Mall. Come have weird sex in our fitting room, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think their heyday has passed, just as our heyday has. Our heyday and Hot Topic's heyday
15
were
years
simultaneous.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Me in high school, going to Hot Topic, having weird sex in the fitting room. Yeah, no, that never happened.
No, it feels like
No.
a story.
I was an old Navy kid, probably.
I don't know.
Okay.
No, I was a Savers and Goodwill kid. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah. Like a checkers.
Yeah, we listened to like Death Cab for Cutie and Ryo Kiley and shit.
Yeah, my entire wardrobe was like band shirts.
As opposed to My Chemical Romance, which is what the Hot Topic kids listen to.
Yeah,
Right, yes.
Yeah, that's like a
And
Trey.
if you weren't a
Sevenfold.
teenager in like 2005, 6, 7, none of this makes sense to you.
No, but we've alienated the Scots and anyone older or younger than us, so we're doing good.
I mean, look, the post 9/11 years were hard for everyone.
As were the years after and before.
And before, yeah, it was history.
Honestly, I could use a walking stick. I'll take it. Talk to the devil.
Yeah.
Might help out. But yeah, after these confessions, the congregation and community continued to be shocked, calling him their angelic Thomas. They continued to interrogate them both, and doctors declared them sane. So they had no choice but to hold a trial and sentence them both to death. As you recall, in the 17th century, burning witches was pretty popular, so I'm not sure how much convincing they needed, but it did end up being the outcome. They charged them with unnatural sex acts, leaving out the black arts part to save face with the church.
This is a time when, like, fucking a horse gets you in less trouble with the church than maybe practicing a different looking religion.
It was very frowned upon.
That's extremely bad. Genocide. We're all aboard for the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
But too much black? No.
Yeah. Is that eyeliner? No, I don't know.
Don't trust
Still
it.
actually kind of the same today.
Yeah.
Yep. While awaiting execution, they were confined in the former leper colony, and Weir was later garroted and burned at the stake, which seems a little excessive. They liked to kill people with every method.
That is two very distinct methods of execution.
Mm-hmm. And
I assume they weren't simultaneous.
I think that they were.
So if somebody was holding their hands over the hot flames.
Well, so there's different. I don't know. I guess you know
or
more
maybe
about
it was a
medieval
long
execution.
String?
Well, there's also the garroted, which is like they had like this collar that they'd put around you with the screw in the back.
So it was a.
Yeah, it was supposed to like crush your brainstem, but sometimes the screw missed and just went into your neck. Anyway, it was a fun time to be executed. They probably did garrot and then burn, but he was still alive when he was burned. I'm pretty sure. It's very spooky. Ooh, history. So, they were also executed at Gallows Field, which is just a fun little word. Galilee is what it was called. And as the rope was put around Weir's neck, he was asked to say, "Lord, be merciful to me." And instead, he was like, "Fuck that shit." He said, "Let me alone. I will not. I have lived as a beast, and I must die as a beast." His sister was also executed in a similar manner, continuing into madness and never repenting. It said she tore off her clothes on the scaffold as she burned, just for one last show, you know.
She did it to offend people and not because her clothes were on fire, I'm sure.
Yeah, right.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
She
look,
was
at a certain...
Go ahead. No, I don't know.
At a certain point, like, I'm not going to judge what someone does when they're being burned alive for, like...
Public indecency while you're on fire.
Like, you could, if you were burning alive, you could probably get away with pretty much, not anything, but, like, you could get away with a lot of stuff, I think.
Well, yeah, but you've already
You could
haven't
certainly
gotten
get away with
it.
tearing off your clothes, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe if you tried to have sex with a beast while you were on fire, that would be like, what? But
but impressive, you know.
Yeah.
Well, because that's also burning a beast, presumably.
I mean, again, if not impressive, you know.
Yeah,
just one
that's
last
true.
act.
Unless it's like a salamander or something fireproof.
Are salamanders fireproof?
I don't know if they're probably not fireproof,
no,
but they're like
certainly
very
not. What?
okay. No, they're
What are
not.
you fucking talking about? No.
That's what
They can withstand high temperatures. They're
Okay.
not fireproof.
Because that would be so cool. I would want so many salamanders.
Yeah, why aren't we making all the houses out of salamanders?
I don't know.
Why don't they build the whole plane out of salamanders?
Okay. Although salamanders are often used by witches, so maybe they were trying to solve it. To get some fireproof armor. Okay. Thomas Weir was also the last man executed for witchcraft in Scotland. And they also burned his staff. It was also said that it took a very long time for the staff and his body to burn, and that they made strange turning movements in the fire, which again, things do move in fire.
Yeah, fire's famously not like a chill place to be.
Not even for wood.
By definition, it's not a chill place to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But the Weir house has a legacy. It laid empty for 100 years, but many people have recounted the sound of revelry coming from the house, lights and noises in the odd hours of the night. The figure of a female, twice the height of a normal woman, appearing outside, laughing maniacally and terrifying passers-by. So a tall woman would sometimes hang out around the house. And torch-bearing fiends.
Well, when you put it like that, it doesn't sound so spooky.
Well, tall women that was rare,
That's
at
true.
the time. Some
A
residents,
stately 4'5".
yeah, yelling, being too loud for a proper lady. Some residents even claim to have seen a fiery coach pull up to the home. People used to think that the Weir home had been completely demolished, but however, recent discoveries reveal that the house is still at least partially intact, and parts of it have been made into what is now the Quaker Meeting House. I'm sure that won't go badly at all. The central part of the Weir home is now the location of the Meeting House's toilets, which is just a fun fact. But a lot of people still claim that the ghost of Major Weir roams the streets, and that the devilish staff can be found roaming the streets by itself, searching for its master. So, also, the staff apparently could run errands for him. There's rumors after his death, where the staff would go off on its own and run errands and answer the door and move down the street and shit.
I'm reevaluating this staff if it can do errands. Actually, you were saying this devil staff. What is it offering? If it can run errands, it's shit.
It's
I'll send
basically
it
an
over
intern.
to the King Supers. I don't give a shit. Yeah.
An intern. I mean, it does have
living.
Pick me up some eggs, staff.
Yeah.
Staff.
along-
Maybe that's where the word staff comes from.
Oh, yep, definitely.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Honestly, the staff is the coolest part of this whole story. But it's also the story of Weir lives on in other ways. It's supposed to have been an influence maybe for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and a novel by James Robertson, which is just as important, clearly. But it's just one of the spookiest places in Scotland now. And honestly, I'm going to go visit just to find the staff, I think.
Yeah. Spend a night on the moors of Scotland in this weird bestiality dude's house.
Yeah. Well,
was,
you would be in the toilets, the Quakers' toilets, technically now.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know.
As someone who's been to several punk shows in Quaker meeting houses, I would go see a show in this one.
Oh yeah, that'd be so fun.
Also, shout out to the Quakers. Hey y'all.
Yeah.
Love your work.
Yeah, I love
you're the best
I played I played Quake a lot when I was about 12, 14 years old. Pretty fun. Thought the ogres were pretty tough. Fun game.
Mhm.
Doom gets all the credit, but Quake, you're pretty cool too.
I like how you weren't changing the dynamic. No, Doom is probably still better. Quake's okay.
I didn't play Doom, so
Ah.
I can only assume it's better because most people like it better.
Is Quake like the knockoff of Doom? I don't know Quake.
I don't know the timeline, but they both came out in the 90s.
I think they were made by the same. I think it's like StarCraft, Warcraft situation a little bit. Why am I
Like
looking
a-
this up? I don't.
Like a Sam and
not
Max,
Quail.
Dr. Brain sort of situation. Those are my games.
Like an ant's Bug's Life.
I think Doom is more future projected and Quake is more like past.
Oh, it was
You know.
Bethesda. Did not know that. Okay.
Wow, okay. Bethesda made Quake?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Anyway,
They
Allison,
also made the Fallout games after Obsidian. You guys, this is not a video game podcast.
It could be.
Starfield is from Bethesda. It just came out.
There we go. We're teaching history as it happens. It's fine.
Starfield, aka No Man's Sky for the 2020s.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That is a wrap on Thomas. Just suddenly in his 70s, went wild, confessed to all sorts of manners of things. Still haunts the Scottish hills, I assume there are hills.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why,
they're the
otherwise,
Scottish
why would he need
Highlands.
a staff, So,
I mean,
Clearly.
fashion.
errands.
Errands. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Allison, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, I mean, there was a lot that does hold up from what I found in my arcane researches. Thomas Weir did serve in the English Civil War, except he wasn't like a fighting guy. He was a
He wasn't a fighting guy.
what are they called?
You know what they're called
Soldiers.
in wars, those fighting guys. Guys who do the fighting. He wasn't one of those. He's one of the other guys.
One of the nice ones.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna go into. I was about to say Happy Veterans Day, you filthy animals, but I can cut that out so I don't get letters.
Was he a planning guy, a medical guy?
He was actually a media liaison.
A PR guy.
Yeah. The media of the time being mostly people who yelled good.
I would honestly, in some ways, rank fighting guys above both the planning guys and the media guys.
Yeah, in terms of respectability.
Yeah. The fighting guys kind of have to be there, and the planning guys and the media guys are just making it so the fighting guys have to be there.
Well, did he have a drum as well as yelling loud? Because if you have a drum as a media guy, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, there were people with drums, people who could yell good. There were people who just had ergot hallucinations that updated them on current events. And there was Rupert Murdoch at the time.
We've already established, I think, in a previous episode that Rupert Murdoch is a Satan spawn that travels from person to person through time.
Oh yeah, that is true. We did establish that.
Yeah.
Really changed Succession. I assume I haven't seen it, so it
And
might
honestly, we released that episode probably, God, when I was living in Denver, so probably 7 years ago, and that man is still fucking alive.
Unfucking believable that fucking like desiccated Muppet is still alive.
Yeah, he's still kicking.
Hopefully not by the time this episode is released, which is tomorrow. But we'll see.
We'll do a spell.
Yeah. I'm going to bleep that out because that might be legally actionable. No, it's not. Wait, witchcraft.
It's not.
It's
fucking
It's witchcraft.
not. Nobody
No.
gives a shit.
Anyway, he was This all takes place, or it starts out when he was trying to get sort of an interview for like a propaganda piece with particular Scottish unit called Hamish's Hammers. They were a ragtag group of people from all different walks of Scottish life. There were shepherds. There were sheep shearers. There were people who kept sheep. All different walks of life were represented. But on the way from the interview, Thomas got knocked out by just like a sizable haggis. And so he comes to on the front line holding a pipe.
It's so ironic. The thing he finds attractive from the outside knocked him out.
That was his thought as he
From
blacked out. It was just like
inside. Yeah.
The irony. I could have been fucking this sheep.
The insides of a sheep seem so appealing.
To everything there is a season.
Yeah.
Sometimes nope. Why am I talking the most about bestiality on the episode that I'm going to edit the least?
I think I'm talking the most about it. That's all right.
That's true. So he's on the front line. He's standing next to some dude named, like some Scottish names, Andrew, Robert.
Yeah, watch Braveheart. You get the idea.
If you're gonna watch Braveheart, at least have the decency to pirate it. I don't know if Mel Gibson is still getting royalties from it, but yeah. So the battle begins, and he gets, like, he's on the front lines. He gets swept up in it, like, sort of against his will. It's a pike battle, so like it doesn't require a lot of skill. You're just holding a big stick and poking at someone who's hopefully like within your reach and you're not in theirs. That's all like all most warfare was at this point.
That's kind of his thing with the staff and
yeah,
the
it's true.
bestiality.
This might be sort
He's
of like
good at staffs. Yeah.
yeah, the beginning of his love affair with stabs. But he gets stuck in with this big sort of royalist troop, and like he gets like some juice on him during the fight, and
Juice.
Yeah. Sorry, juice.
then yeah, like body juice, and then
sheep
he
juice.
like body juice.
Like the doctors say when you're dying in
Yeah.
the surgery room, just
In
he's
the
got a lot of
surgery
juice.
room.
He's losing too much juice.
He's got body juice in the surgery room.
Yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, he gets clapped with an old-timey cannonball and dies. And then he wakes up and he's back on the front line next to Robert and Andrew, and they're about to charge again. And he doesn't know what's going on, and he dies even faster this time. And then bam, he's back. He's between Robert and Andrew on the front line. And this happens maybe a dozen times before he's able to this is how he gets through the battle, is he runs away. And so he goes
Cunning.
Yeah, that's not a lot of people think to do that, but you can just do that. Did you know? In a war. So he goes and he decides to seek out the war's most storied fighter for their advice on what to do, and that is a woman not related to him who goes by the
Emily
name
Blunt?
Griselle. Yes,
Oh, okay.
Emily Blunt. Emily being the first name, Blunt coming from her family's profession of smoking hella weed. So Griselle has been experiencing the same thing, it turns out. This being stuck in a loop. And she got out of it and doesn't know how and can't go back.
Is
they're
this is this Natasha Lyonne? Is this did they
No,
write
no.
for-
I mean, sort of in a way. Yeah.
So it is a time loop. He is referencing Edge of Tomorrow and or Live, Die, Repeat.
Yep. Both Live, Die, Repeat, much better title. The original short story has the best title, though, because it's called All You Need Is Kill, which I think is just very fun. But so they're contemplating being stuck in this loop. And, at one point, Grizel says, do you think you can change your fate? Sort of thing. Actually, it's Scotland, so they said, do you think you can change your fucking fate? That's what Brave got wrong. They don't say fuck nearly enough. No one gets called like a wee cunt or anything like that. It's Scottish.
Yeah, there's lots of wee cunts.
Yeah.
Do you wish you could change your feet?
Thank you. There we go. I'm so sorry for saying that word, but also it's the first thing I think of when I think of a Scottish accent.
It's fine if it's wee,
Yeah. That is just cultural appropriation instead of misogyny.
Mm-hmm.
So together, Weir and Grizel set out on a plan to escape this loop, and they decide the only way to do that is to kill the head royalist, who I guess would just be the king. Now that I think about it,
It's usually what they call their head royalist, yeah.
The most royal.
Sometimes the queen, depending.
Yeah, that's true. Spoiler alert, they do succeed in getting the king killed.
Dang.
And along the way, they fell in love. But to sort of throw off the suspicion, the prying eyes of the public, they decided to tell people that they weren't lovers, they were just brother and sister. Classic White Stripes scenario. Now, they both survived, but of course, they've fought like 5 times the amount of war that everyone else has fought,
Sure.
in a sense. And they have sort of the psychological scars to go along with that. And so Thomas specifically turns to therapy and psychiatry, which is witchcraft at the time. I also realized Tom Cruise is in Live, Die, Repeat, who is a Scientologist who hates therapy and psychiatry, which I did not think about that.
All coming together.
Scientology, man, what a healthy thing.
I mean, we shouldn't rag on Scientology. We've never talked about it on the show before. We've never done episodes about anything to do with Scientology, and
No, not at all.
whether it's good or
Or
an insane
crime
cult that
ring.
employs slave labor, as some say,
Mhm.
with only an extreme amount of proof. Like we haven't talked about.
No, don't touch on it.
I mean, and of course, we have not ever talked about how like they've almost certainly committed at least several murders.
Right. We would never make a statement about whether or not there's a lot of proof that they have disappeared and killed people.
Right. No, we've
You know.
infiltrated the U.S. government.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
We would never make a statement about whether Scientology overwhelmingly likely did these things. That would be something we would never say.
No, never. We would
Because-
never talk about how L. Ron Hubbard kidnapped his own daughter and then abandoned her after kidnapping her.
Make conjecture about how he was a malignant narcissist who created a fleet of slave boats that included children and women that he forced onto the high seas for literally years. We would never speculate that that was the case based on only, maybe some evidence from, I don't know, a lot of verifiable sources. We would never make
And of
that
course,
claim.
in some cases, the statements of known liar L. Ron Hubbard himself.
Well,
So-
if you want more literature, I can get you some from Hollywood Boulevard, just so you know.
There
Every
is
Well, we're trying to keep neutral, so we'd prefer not.
there is a very fancy Scientology church in like very near like Coors Field, like downtown Denver, listeners, in like a very nice part of town, and it is where some of Jen's associates in like a publishing group years back ended up having a series of meetings because they offered them the space, and it was hella weird.
Spooky.
Spooky. Anyway, so yes, he's going to these therapy sessions, which take place in the deep dark woods, and the therapist sends a Dr. Tillman. That is just my own therapist. Shout out, I guess. Sends.
Sorry for
I couldn't
shade
think of
on
another
Tillman.
name. I couldn't think of another name.
You didn't have to say he was your therapist. You could let this man live in anonymity. Like, clearly he's not doing a good job. We know you.
Yeah, we don't have to drag my therapist by association. Sends a carriage to pick him up, and some people, throughout this time there are rumors sort of building about him because he is very severe, he's very pious, and he's walking around wearing all black, and people are like, no, that's sus as fuck. And so people are like, yeah, he's probably doing witch shit. But
As
it was
people
not...
were wont to say at the
yes,
time.
yes, of course. So, the fucking guy's doing some witch shit.
We can't do it with shit.
You fucking reprobate.
I feel sad.
What a magical land. So, but it wasn't a flaming carriage. It was just a regular carriage that Weir, actually, he pioneered the art of putting flame decals on carriages, just as a side note. No real reason, because it just, like, it fucking whips. Like, look at it. It's sweet as hell. And then, so, he's trying to manage his trauma from all this war, but it eventually gets to him, and a lot of the walls between reality and some of the things that he's been absorbing through, like, his very strict sect of, like, Covenanter Presbyterianism, they sort of converge, and he ends up making, Allison, as you described, this, like, dramatic confession to witchcraft and bestiality and incest, and he sort of ropes the unwitting victim Grizel into it, and of course the witchcraft and incest, were delusions. Bestiality, he lived next to a very sexy horse. No, gross.
I mean, who hasn't?
They're very majestic creatures.
Knowing that horse is 10 feet away.
I like
going to sleep at night being like, damn, Secretariat right across the fence over there.
Thick.
Your mind goes crazy.
Yeah. Look, I've never like looked at an animal and been like, I could see someone being interested in that, but like especially horses, because like I've ridden on them and I've seen how much they piss and shit, and like that. Anyway,
They're also terrifying.
They're very terrifying. Yes, that might be part of the. Who knows? I'm not gonna fucking try to get into the head of a horse fucker.
Well, you had to for this story. It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's true, to really get into character. So
You never thought if I was a horse, I'd be like, that one I'd be into.
Yeah,
that one maybe not so much.
I'm glad you are past this phase, though, Zach.
Wait, are you talking about like if you're a horse looking at other horses, or like
a
horse looking at dudes?
Or both, either way.
Both, yeah.
spend a lot of time thinking about if I were a horse.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if I were a horse, I think I could look at a dude and be like, I could kick the shit out of that.
They have more power than they think. It's like the ants in A Bug's Life.
Come up twice.
Perfect. And yeah, so Weir is executed. He is garroted and burned. The same thing, of course, tragically happens to Griselle. He did have the magic staff. It was more of a sex thing again. Real sex weirdo. But yeah, that is the true story of Thomas Weir.
Did they ever figure out why they were looping in time?
Oh, yeah, the royalists, their body juice was magic.
I missed that part. Got it. Body juice.
Yeah. That's why it's not like blood or like sweat or like
That's why it's juice.
spit or anything. Yeah, it's juice.
And it's the royalists, so it's a sort of okay. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like it's king juice. That
So it's full of baby blood.
yeah.
whatever
It's
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because
yeah.
when you're an old person and you drink baby blood, the idea is that you get younger.
So
But
you're
it
sent
is-
back
that's
in
the
time.
idea.
You
So
know?
it sets time back.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
time.
It
Baby
actually
blood
is-
is time juice.
The logic is perfect.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Okay. This was way more well thought out than I thought.
Oh,
Juices.
before we move on to judgment, I just want to say you can follow us on Instagram or hey, write us a letter. We love hearing from you. Just write to revisionistspodcast@gmail.com or go to revisionistspodcast.com and click on the contact form. And yeah, you can find us on social media and not in real life. Don't stalk us.
I mean, you can find us in real life if you really want, but
Yeah. Honestly, if you have the skill, like
we give you our real names on this podcast.
Yeah.
You can find us pretty fucking easy. But yeah,
yep.
I don't think anybody cares enough to do that.
Yeah, no, that's please don't. I value my privacy.
Not after all the horse talk. I think you guys are safe.
Yeah. Oh man, look again, listeners. If you feel attracted to animals, please actually seek therapy. Like,
Not from a man in the woods either.
not from a man in the woods. Like real therapy. I know the name of a very good one. I can't speak to their expertise in this matter, but like, it's better to get help for that than to not.
Well, I'll go a step beyond. If you find a man in the woods, attempt to help that person because I assume they're in a bad place.
Unless that person is Ted Kaczynski, or the ghost of Ted Kaczynski.
Okay.
In which case, kind of just give him some space and don't make a weird hero out of him because he sucked. Anyway, that's my fuck the
Important life
Unabomber
lessons.
rant. But Allison, was there anything in particular you wanted to plug?
They can also find me on Instagram, Alley Rose Jokes, 2 L's, I-E, and got a We Still Like You coming up in November in LA. So if you're out in LA, find We Still Like You and Allison Rose.
Awesome.
That's all I'm plugging. No talk about the woods. Although if you do find a man in the woods, help them.
Yeah.
It's too much stigma against people in the woods.
It's true. If you find someone who needs help outside of the woods, consider helping them also.
Sure. It's less obvious, though.
Yeah, obviously. Like, if you see someone outside of the woods, imagine them in the woods, and then ask yourself, would you be helping them then? And
But I
then,
think for a lot of people, the answer would be less likely to help them because they'd be more scared.
more scared. Yes, that's true. Zach, you co-host the Movie Trap, which currently on a bit of a hiatus, but
Yeah, there's a lot going on with those, so we're gonna come back eventually, but we're still on a hiatus. But you can subscribe and you'll find an episode sooner or later.
yeah, and the back catalog is great. Also, as for me, listeners, if you are very quick and you're listening to this the day it comes out, October 21st, there's probably going to still be time for you to buy treats for our bake sale. Orders, I said orders closed Friday the 20th, but we're not being super strict about it because we are trying to raise money to buy tents for unhoused people here in the Denver area before the winter really sets in. Among other things, the Denver Police Department keeps sweeping homeless people off the street and very often taking their shelter and a lot of their other belongings. So it's fucked. And
So buy cookies, and you don't even have to help your person in the woods this week. You will have already helped. You'll have reached your quota just by buying cookies.
I haven't crunched the numbers. We've had a few more orders come in since. But last I checked, we've raised enough for about half a dozen 4-person tents.
Oh, that's great.
Which is usually enough for like 2 people, their belongings, pets. So that's fantastic. That is 12 people who like won't be like outside in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
Like, so thank you to everyone who has supported. And if you're listening to this on like the 21st or the 22nd, and you decide you want to order something, shoot us a message on Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, that brings us to judgment. Dun dun.
Yeah. So it falls to me to be in charge of judgment this week. And I'm coming off being sick. I'll say that straight up. If I've had a little bit of loopiness this episode, it's probably the Dayquil. And other shit going on. So my brain is perhaps not at its maximum absorbency for that regard. For those reasons, I should say. And you know what? Maybe it's because of all that. Maybe because I want to keep it simple for stupid, as Bill Clinton's campaign once said. That I want to go with the simpler story. And I think I'm going to go with the original narrative this time, just because I want my brain to rest easy, wrapping itself around the easy narrative that doesn't involve time loops that I have to figure out what this means for basic causality. And,
the timeline would just be a whole mess.
That's
yeah. This week I'm keeping it simple, stupid. Again, as the Clinton campaign once advised me, even though that advice was perhaps, I don't know, it was bad advice, but it was also better than the Bush campaign. So I don't know. So I'm doing the best with what I got.
Of course, speaking of sex criminals, William Jefferson Clinton.
Yeah. And I guess also George Bush Sr.
Yeah.
Who's the worst war criminal? Time will never know. But yeah, so I'm gonna go with the straight history this time. We talked a lot about bestiality, and I don't want to put anything on
We talked a lot about bestiality.
Yeah.
Like, look,
my cat's right here. Like, she's
cat outside the window. She suffered this episode.
I've had a very weird week, and I've been sick. So please give me a little. I'm working on something.
I've had COVID. We all ask for a little grace.
Yeah.
Listeners, thank you so much for joining us. Allison, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Zach,
Very
thank
fun.
you as always.
No, of course. I wish I could retract the last 3 minutes.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, listeners, for everyone here at the Revisionists, I'm Brian Flynn saying,
I'm Zach Powers. I usually do that, but you know.
yeah. I was trying to think of a Halloween thing and it's throwing me off. Brian Flynn saying,
Have a good terror time.
give me that candy. Yeah.
Sure.
October 21st, 1774. The flag of Taunton, Massachusetts is the first to include the word liberty. But like 200 years later, there's also the first flag to include the word Toyotathon. So who gives a shit? October 21st, 1520. João Fagundes discovers the islands of Saint-Pierre and Miquelon, bestowing on them their original name, Islands of the 11,000 Virgins, in honor of the Magic the Gathering tournament held there.